to restart Elden Ring. A few more things in place. Pull up my things here. Okay. And if anybody ever actually wants to know why I restarted my run, I'll tell you, but you have to ask nicely. I want to... Yeah, let's just get rid of that for now. And that. That was something I was just playing around with. Okay. Right, and we're actually going to start off with the Vagabond this time. Yes. Is that it? Let me take a look at a few things real quick. Yep. Yeah, that appears to be it. The one with the lowest arcane. Make that matter. Load favorite. Yeah, I have two different ones that I tend to use. Whoop. And we'll use the same name. That is my name. Okay. I'll go and finish. And I hear the noise of a cat. Oh. And I see that I left my laptop open from when I was working. I don't work from my bedroom, but I needed a wired connection because the Wi-Fi here, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but the Wi-Fi here is fucking abysmal. It makes dial-up look fast. Yeah, so I brought it in here for a wired connection. Wait for that. We're gonna. I don't want this covering up anything right now.
The great Elden Ring was shattered. In our home, across the fog, the lands between. Now, Queen Marika the Eternal is nowhere to be found. And in the night of the Black Knives, Godwyn the Golden was first to perish. Soon, Marika's offspring, demigods all, claimed the shards of the Elden Ring. The mad taint of their newfound
Taint.
strength
He.
triggered the shattering. A war from which no lord arose. A war leading to abandonment by the
Hey, Caddis. Hello. Welcome back. I hope you're having a good day. I had a great day. I finished my boring mandatory training today.
Rise now, ye tarnished, ye dead who yet live. The call of long-lost grace speaks to us all. Horalu, chieftain of the Badlands,
It's a crazy boss fight.
the ever-brilliant Gold Mask.
Don't think that's ever a fight.
Fear, the deathbed companion,
Yeah, we're not going to be using her debuff.
loathsome dung eater, and Sir Gideon Ofnir, the all-knowing.
It's so over the top. My God. That's kind of what I was saying. Is like
And one
he just gets really, really excited for some fucking reason.
grace would again bless,
Actually, now is a good time to
tarnished
actually
of
find
no
it. There we go.
renown.
Oop, oop. There we go.
Cross the
Better.
fog to the lands between, to stand before the Elden Ring.
This game really enjoys its flashbangs.
The Elden Lord.
Thank you. I'm good. I don't need the ring. Oh boy, let's go. Now we have a better shield. I said if you ask nicely. Um, so you wrote, I can ask you why you start Elden Ring. Um, yeah. So I did after some stream I did some much needed research into um the run that I was actually the build that I was creating. Um, and it turns out the build that I was creating was actually designed specifically for challenge runs, for one-shot challenge runs. It's not meant for casual runs. So it really would not have worked, especially going into the DLC and shit like that. So I found a different build that turns the Vagabond into a spellcaster. Whoop. Let's see if I can get more than one hit in. That'd be nice. Whoop. Nope. I almost skipped that cutscene. We don't want to be doing that. So yeah, it's just not a good build for the casual runs that I'm doing, and so I'm restarting. It's no, it's designed to like. I took a look at the build, but you know, I didn't watch the video all the way through. I got to the stats, the items that they were using, and a lot of the footage that they were using to kind of show off the build. But then at the end, they kind of explained the purpose of the build. I didn't get to that point last night before I started this up. So, I didn't also plan to start Elden Ring last night either, which is why, I hadn't finished my research yet. Like I said, I'd found a build that I thought was really cool, but I found one that's, it has a similar mentality of high damage output, but it's not meant to fulfill the role of. There's people out there that like to do one shot challenge runs, and it's a build that's designed for that. It won't work properly unless you use all the buffs that they loaded at the back end of the video. And so I didn't know that you had to put on like 15 different buffs and have like you're basically you're poisoning yourself, you're procking bleed on yourself, you're having to you're casting the golden vow incantation, and you're just procking all these different buffs at the start of a boss fight or before you go through the boss fog. The only boss that this build can one shot, ironically, is Fire Giant. And again, it's the same mentality. You have to like proc 50 different buffs and then get Fire Giant in a very specific location and then attack him in a very specific way. But this build is more just like, Keck W, enemy goes boom. Like that's basically what this build turns into. Is click W, enemy go boom. Woo! I'm gonna jump over here, and now we avoid falling damage, unlike last night. Yeah, the 2 hit run. Um, I mentioned it last night. One of the things I plan on doing after we get this character ready for the DLC, and my plan is after I do that, depending on the date, we're gonna start working on getting the platinum trophy. I have 2 trophies left that I need to get. When I was getting started on streaming, or just before I started streaming again, um, I was working. I'd gotten the Placidus X win. I was basically cleaning up bosses that I hadn't fought yet. And now we're at everybody's favorite boss on that build, at least. Hold on. Why does Torrent in that cutscene more look like a living creature uh, in comparison to when you're riding it? Um, that's probably because that's not a that's a exactly as you said. It's a cutscene, and so they're able to put more detail into everything inside the cutscene. If you're looking for an actual answer, if you're looking for like a joke answer, it's maybe that cutscene was created earlier on in development. That guy was annoying. But yeah, it's not an in-game cutscene, so it looks a little bit better. That's one thing I've learned is like in-engine cutscenes will always be lower quality than like something that's made to be a cutscene. A good example of that is like look at like the PS3 test footage of like the Final Fantasy VII stuff that really set people off in wanting a Final Fantasy VII remake. I remember they released that like this footage, and everybody's like, "Oh my god, that's so amazing! You guys should make the Final Fantasy VII remake." And then they remade the game, and people got mad at it. Whoop. 1/4 of Elden Ring mods are making Soldier of God overpowered. I mean, we just put it on full display as to why that's necessary. Do I even have any? Oh, I have 2. Okay, cool. All right, so you're gonna be starting off and boosting vigor and intelligence. I would imagine, though the intelligence is relatively low. We need that higher for sure. Get some early game spells. Last night did serve as like a good refresher of like where shit is. I didn't pick a fucking starting gift. Well, I'm just gonna have to eat crow on that one. That's why should it be why should what be necessary? Oh, making the Soldier of Godric overpowered. Well, not really making him overpowered. More that like he's just laughable. He's just a normal Soldier of Godric. You know, he's like they didn't do anything to make him a boss. They just strapped a boss HP bar that appears at the bottom of the screen to a normal Soldier Godric and tossed him in there for tutorial purposes. Oh no, you're not doing that. Mr. Phone, you are not going to sleep. You have my notes. Like I said, I when I realized what I did when I realized my mistake, because after a stream last night I sat down to take notes on what's needed
Oh,
for
yes.
the build that I had started.
Are we come to
There's a mod that makes him stronger than Millennia. I mean,
No shame in it. Unfortunately for
does
you,
it make him as fun though?
you are maidenless, without guidance,
This is
without
kind of something I've touched on a lot. Is that it's not.
an invitation to the round table hall.
It's these games for a lot of people are not
Seems
all about the difficulty. Like, yeah, some people like that difficulty and they want that difficulty and they crave it,
luckily for you, however,
but
there is one
it's not the end all be all.
hope for even the maidenless. Me, Vare. Take care to listen. Are you familiar with grace? The golden light that gives life to you tarnished.
You
You may also behold its golden rays, pointing in a particular direction at times. That is the guidance of grace, a path that a tarnished must travel. Indeed. Grace's guidance holds the answers. It will lead you tarnished to the path you are meant to follow, even if it leads you to your grave.
we're gonna after as soon as we get on torrent, we're going on a fucking journey. Are you done?
Grace's guidance will reveal the path forward, most certainly. To Castle Stormvale, over on the cliff, the home of the decrepit demigod, Godric the Grafted. It's time you set off, I should think, to Castle Stormvale if you seek the Elden Ring.
Whatever you say, dude. Grab that. I don't know. I don't think I've ever used it. What does that actually do? Okay, okay. So it's another thing that I just don't understand. Take that. Me or you? Take that. And that. And that. Grab a bunch of stuff and kind of run around like an idiot for a little while. Yeah, let's go over to that church area. We need to buy our crafting kit. Along with... And that's why I do that tutorial area, is it gets you some runes to start out with. And then you can run over to this idiot and buy that crafting kit. And if you're lucky, something else. Okay, one smithing stone. Yeah. Shut up, dude. I don't care to talk to you, actually. Do that. We'll come back later. Discover that side of grace. We'll just casually sit at it. This time we're going to do things a little bit differently. Millennia was the only boss in the Soulsborns for me that was so difficult that I'm not sure. It says it was so difficult that the existment. I'm not sure. Maybe you meant existence of fighting hard bosses have gone to frustration and hatred. And that's sort of what pushed me away from, or pushed me into putting Dark Souls 3 on hold, is what you're saying right now. I wasn't having fun doing the Dark Souls 3 stuff anymore. But for me, the frustration came not from the bosses being too hard. It came from the fact that they just, like, when creating the game mechanics, I guess it didn't quite work out the way they had wanted it to. Great, this shithead's going on a fucking burning journey. Whoop! Now there's another one out here, so... There you are. These guys are irritating as fuck. Probably see why people find them irritating. But those great dragonfly heads are very useful when it comes to crafting. Like, way later in the game, obviously, but still very useful. Flop. Instead of running right into that cave, we're going to run into that cave after we go get the map and all that stuff. Let's see here. Okay. Okay, so we run off to the side over here. Recalling what we learned yesterday, that the map is right there. But, I mean, play this game for 5 minutes and you'll know where the map is. Let's grab this Grace. This will probably give us Torrent. We go grab this Grace right now. And then sit down at it. It'll immediately change into night. She feels like not designed, like she was not designed for Elden Ring. It makes a stupid amount of, or creates a stupid amount of damage with waterfowl and healing when, yeah. And I can see what you mean, but ever since Bloodborne sort of kind of changed how Souls games play. If you look at like Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Dark Souls 2, those games are much more slower paced, clunkier kind of games. And then Bloodborne comes along and introduces this like frantic, aggressive, fast-paced combat. And everybody, and I mean like literally everybody on the planet loved it. So many people thought like this is so amazing. And so they started incorporating that into their future games. And that I mean it just, you know, it's the constant escalation or driving up the the stakes. It's making games faster and bigger and more grand. Like look at a lot of the main remembrance bosses in this game. They start off with this big, you know, they all have like this big bombastic music, like Godskin Duo music, for example. Look that up. Absolutely fucking insane. That's like, you know, we're talking like a side optional boss. And they're getting like this fucking insane, crazy, bombastic music. And it's just the constant progression of, you know, making things bigger and more grand and make it feel like, you know, it's this huge thing that you're undertaking. And you know, so you get more, you feel more accomplished when you've overcome certain challenges and like all that stuff, you know. It's funny that they use the name Torrent when specifically like George R. R. Martin, for example, was a victim of torrenting during his Game of Thrones days. We're still gonna backstab this chucklehead. And even though we don't plan on using this, I'm gonna grab it anyways. So yeah, it may feel like, you know, like Melania is not meant for this game. But I can see what they were trying to do with her. Like, she's completely optional. I completely missed her in my first two playthroughs. And then I got to the point where I was like, alright, let's look it up, because apparently you have to do a bunch of very specific stuff to get to her. Whoop! But yeah, it's this build that I looked up, after a point, I'm going to deviate from it a little bit. I mainly have the build up for like an idea of what I want to do. And that idea is currently certain stats with a focus. And these are stats that I absolutely want. This has, certain stats with a focus on actually doing what we wanted to do in Dark Souls 3. Okay, let's see if we can get this before he got it. Okay. He didn't notice me. Good. So yeah, I'm going to take this Vagabond that has decent, like, fighting stats and turn it into a casting build. Why would I go and do something like that? Well, all sorceries are ultimately not as good as incantations in this game. I want to see if the DLC will potentially improve upon. You don't understand the point of that shield bash, do you? And I meant to do a guard counter. Oh well. Okay. Heal up real quick. I am a huge Sekiro fan, and Melania feels like she ripped off the DLC of Sekiro. Um, Sekiro doesn't have any DLC. Um, and Waterfall Dance was in Sekiro. Okay. Um, is it called Waterfall Dance in Germany? Because in America, Melania's infamous attack is called Waterfowl Dance. Not waterfall, waterfowl. Like Fowl, like the bird. Like the duck. Come here, you little shithead. It's hinted at in the game that there is a great woman warrior who fights with the dance. Who fights dance like and with waterfall dance. And I think Melania is her. Was there ever Sekiro DLC in development though? Like that seems like with how popular Sekiro was, I can't imagine that they would, even start the development of DLC and not finish it. It's just that like Sekiro's story feels a lot more focused and less nebulous than say like Souls games. And so maybe they couldn't like, I don't know if they, I don't know. It's all speculation on my part. I don't even know if they were ever planning to attempt Sekiro DLC. Ruin Fragment. Game changer. Absolutely huge. Not really, though. Did I kill everything? I don't think so. Not yet. Still got that big asshole. This giant fucking... Is that a spear or a lance that he has? It's a spear. All these